Welcome back to my channel and another video. And y'all, why y'all didn't tell me that I'm always saying beauty by mirrors? I don't know why that's the first thing that come to my mind. I'm the one who freaking made up the thing. Welcome to beauty beyond mirrors, for obvious reasons, because there's beauty beyond mirrors and what we see. Anyways, before I get started today, I wanted to stop and ask you guys to like this video right now. I'm sure you're gonna love it. It's definitely relatable. It's something that I feel like we all can relate to, including myself. And make sure you also subscribe and turn your notification bells on. And we can also sound off in the comment section below. All right, so now that that's out of the way, today's topic that I wanted to discuss is how far pretty privilege gets you in life. We all know by this time that pretty privilege does exist. And if you don't, I'm here to tell you it do. It could be from as minor as you getting free entry into a club, or as major as you getting a promotion. And then of course, you just being pretty isn't just gonna make you have the promotion. Typically it's subsequented with other things that come along with that, if you catch my shit. But the point that I'm making is pretty privilege does exist, and it has always existed in my life experiences and in other life experiences from other people as well that I have been privy to. As far as I'm concerned, because I like to put my personal touch on it and share with you guys ultimately, I believe that I have benefited from pretty privilege a few times in my life. And some were more subtle than others, but there has been some that were just blatantly obvious because the other individual would tell me, which is crazy. But one individual did tell me, and I'm like, wow, that's crazy. Saying what's on your mind, especially when it's as crappy as that, is insane. When I was a child, mind you, I believe that I had an ugly duckling stage. And when I say ugly duckling stage, I didn't always look like how I look today. I talked to you guys in my last video how the way my eyebrows normally grows, it was like bushy here, and then the tail was very thin and it just grew down here. That was one of my biggest insecurities, coupled with I didn't grow into my face like how I was. I was never a chubby child, not even in my primary years. I wasn't chubby, but I wasn't like skinny. I would never be skinny. That's just not in my genes. I was always built to have some thickness to me. It is what it is, and I love it. I love it. But I say all that to say I didn't have to go through what I seen my counterparts go through when it came to not looking conventionally pretty. I had relaxed hair since I could remember. My mom, she relaxed our hair. When I say our, I mean me and my sisters. So that's all we knew until I was 18 and I stopped getting relaxers and I embraced my natural hair, and then, you know, put them in protective styles like this. But yeah, so I didn't have to go through what I've seen my counterparts go through. Talking from like kindergarten all the way up into high school. I've seen how I was treated and people who I guess look like me versus people who did not look conventionally pretty. And when I say that, I'm talking about skin tone. I'm talking about facial features. I'm talking about weight. Those are my three top things. And it's not what I made. It's honestly what society made. And you just learn to, what's the word I'm looking for? You don't learn to accept it because it's not to be accepted under no circumstances. You just learn to identify it. Like, okay, you're going to call a thing a thing. You know now. You know what they mean when they say you're not conventionally pretty. And then there is a duality to that too. Just as a sidebar, you could be high yellow all you want, but I've seen some high yellow chicks in other people's words because in grade school, they let everything out. They don't have no whisper voice at all. There was a high yellow girl in school, and you would think that that's like the starter's pack. Not in her case, because she had other two things going against her. She was overweight, and from what I heard from the dudes, the jockeys, they said she was ugly. So I guess her facial features wasn't pretty to their liking. So you can have one check on that box, but then you cannot check the other 2 boxes, or vice versa. In all actuality, it's stupid, because who in the hell determines who's pretty or not? You know what I'm saying? So the mere fact that I gotta even make this video is crazy, but be that as it may, I'm coming forth to tell you guys my story and what I've witnessed growing up. So yeah, I had that going for me. I was never ugly, but there were things on me that I didn't like, and there were things on me that people made sure to point out, which is why when I was much younger, I started to razor my eyebrows, and I butched it up. Like, I messed it up. It was crazy. And I went against what my parents said, which I very seldom did, because I was a scary kid. I did not like getting in trouble. I never understood how some kids can go to school and get expelled, out of all things, or suspended, or sent to detention. I'm like, what kind of parents y'all got? Because you clearly don't have parents like mine, because if you did, you wouldn't be in this place right now. You would not be in detention, you would not be suspended, and you would not be expelled. Like, that's crazy. So needless to say, I always tried to stay on the straight and narrow with my parents, predominantly my dad, because my mom, she was the more passive one, the nurturing one. Well, never mind. My dad was the disciplinary in the household, let's just put it that way. So he definitely invoked a lot of fear in me and my sisters, and to a certain degree I can understand it. You know, this is a crazy world we're living in, and you got 3 girls that you're help raising. You need to make sure that you got to instill some fear in them. I don't think there's anything wrong with you instilling some fear, because if you don't, like, you'll have these kids just going out doing whatever with no repercussions, no consequences, no care in the world, and then they're either going to end up in jail, because nobody's going to care that they're a little child, right? Depending on what crimes they commit, if they make it that far, or they're going to end up 6 feet under. I've seen it happen both ways. So anyway, to go back into topic, I've seen people who look like me that got treated nicer is what I would say, nicer when it came to certain privileges. For instance, when I was in the 2nd grade, I did my homework late. Something happened. I did my homework late. My teacher, she was very, very strict. I remember that. And it was me and it was 2 other girls who were also late on their school assignment. Like, we turned it in late, whatever. And I remember my teacher, to me, she was very kind. She was like, okay, Sierra, no problem. You know, this isn't good. Don't let it happen again, but I'll work with you. In so many words. There was 2 other girls, and one of the other girls didn't fit the mold when it comes to conventional prettiness. That's what I'm gonna say, because it's not what I feel about her. I feel like she was beautiful. I felt like she was pretty then, and I feel like she's pretty now. But if I'm gonna check off those boxes that embodies someone who is conventionally pretty, high yellow, or at least lighter complected, certain texture hair, you know, good facial features or pretty facial features, you know what I'm saying, those things like that, if you don't check off that box, it ain't gonna be easy for you. So needless to say, she said that I was okay. She gave me a little hard time, but maybe it's because everybody was watching, and that's okay too. I mean, I deserved it. But then to her, she just started talking to her. I just remember she was very mean in her approach with that particular kid. And me and her was late. It didn't matter. Me and her turned in the same work late. You know what I'm saying? And that was when I started to put the pieces together. As I went on into grade school and I started seeing similar things like that happen, even with guys and how they talk to certain females based off of how they look. Guys, they talk. You'll hear the worst of the worst if you're not prepared for it. I've heard guys say, oh, she thick, but she ugly. I'm gonna put a paper bag over her head. Yes. Oh, well, she ain't got no shape, but she light skinned. Like, I've heard it all. Like, anything that you can possibly think of that lacks intelligence on every level, that is what these guys said. This is what I've heard them say. They were never keeping it a secret. So I have managed to dodge those bullets. And then as I got older and I started to really pay attention to how I dressed and took extra care into grooming myself. At this point, I was better with my eyebrows. I would have weave, but not very long, but I'll put, you know, I'll spruce myself up, and I'm not gonna lie, it did enhance my beauty. And I noticed that the same guys that I went to school with in middle school, who would probably not choose me over somebody who looked it better in their eyes, were now looking my way. They were now looking my way. What changed? What really changed? You know what I'm saying? Like, it's very easy when you are intuitive, when you're an intuitive person, and when you can read a room, and when you are self-aware, and when you are observant, you could put pieces together like nobody's business. You know what I'm saying? I've seen these same set people in life that treated others who don't look like me, or who don't look like the typical westernized woman, which has to be lighter complected or have to have a small nose. If you ain't got a small nose, you gotta have some shape to you. It's like, dang, if you don't have this, you gotta have that. If you don't have that, you gotta have this. I've seen that happen so many times in my life, in and out of school. That is crazy. When I used to go to a club down here in South Florida, I don't think it's open anymore. It used to be called Cafe Iguanas. And I went there. And there was a few times that I went there that they either wouldn't check my ID, or they would just let me in, like willy-nilly let me in. Also, I've been to other clubs down here where, I mean, it's kind of obvious that they're looking for a certain aesthetics. I have seen girls be turned around for whatever reason. The bouncer thought that they didn't fit the mold, right? And again, when I say the mold, I mean check all the boxes. You have to be light-skinned. You have to have nice facial features. You got to have a nice shape. You can't be fat. You know what I'm saying? You have to fit all of these boxes, right? Those are the same type of people that I saw getting turned around at these establishments. I remember when I would go into functions outside of the club. I mean, I'm just talking about like regular bars. I've had instances where guys would pay for my drink free of cost. Now, obviously, after that, you know what they're gonna want, which is why later on I stopped even accepting. You know, they would say, okay, I want to buy you a drink. They'll do that for me. But do you think that they'll do that for somebody who didn't look like me? I have been around this world, and I have seen how the same man can switch up based on who they're talking to. I have been in, let's say, Wawa. I don't know if y'all familiar with Wawa. It's really like a one-stop shop. It's a gas station, but inside it's like a one-stop shop. I have been walking inside a Wawa, and a man would open up the door for me, and then a girl who they may or may not think, well, I'm going to say may not, obviously, they open up the door for me. A woman behind me who looks different than me, maybe not appealing to his standards, he just let the door close. He just let the door close. I've seen that happen on so many occasions, to where I'm already immune to the fact that people will treat you based off of how you look outwardly. And if that isn't the most idiotic way to live your life, hateful way to live your life, I don't know what is. I mean, you're a deplorable human being if you treat people based off of how you think they look to you. Is crazy. And don't get me wrong, when I would have privileges, such as like having a free drink, or getting skipped or bumped into the front of the line, that also happened, or being taken easier on if I'm late on an assignment or two or whatever. While I did enjoy those perks, there's nobody that will tell me they did not enjoy being privileged in that way. It didn't make me feel any better, because I'm like, what if I did look like this person? I will now be treated just like that person. So that doesn't make me feel better, which is why for me, on the side topic, when we talk about white privilege and everything, like, I mean, obviously any type of privilege feels nice, but if I was a white person, which I am not, obviously, having privilege, yeah, like that's cool and all, but I don't see how somebody who benefits from white privilege can still function knowing that there's other people that aren't being treated fairly. And to be completely honest, you got a lot of white people who now have family who is being diluted. There's so many interracial relationships and they're having interracial babies, right? So you, as a white person, you got to think like, well, my sister's kid is biracial. Because me personally, I don't believe in just calling a child black when they clearly have one parent that's black and one parent that's white. They are biracial. It is okay to acknowledge both sides of the family because it's disrespectful to one side of the family when you totally don't even acknowledge it. But anyway, the point that I'm making is I never understood why the same people who benefit from certain things can't seem to feel bad, right, for the situation itself, because you can have family that is half black. Now they got to deal with what you benefit from. You know what I'm saying? If that makes sense. I hope I'm not losing y'all, but I just never understood that. It's like, okay, yeah, you get like a fruit trinkets, but if you stay out in the sun for way too long or get those, I hear now they're doing tanning injections, and you get too dark, you're going to now be treated the same way. So anyway, the point that I'm making is you ain't better than nobody. I'm not better than nobody, because as far as I'm concerned, you're going to die just like I am. And as long as that remains true, which so far in history has proven to be right, nobody is more perfect than the other. We are all special, but there is nobody who is more special than the next. That's what I'm driving at. And that honestly ties into this whole video with pretty privilege. It's a shame that I have to even talk about it. It's a shame that it is true. And it's also a shame that I don't see it changing. Even if they put laws into play, which laws is one thing, but you can't change the matters of someone's heart, and you can't change their mind if they don't want it to be changed, is what I'm going to say. You know what I'm saying? The same thing applies with a racist. A racist know that they're stupid. You have to be a stupid person to care about something that doesn't concern you, like somebody's melanin. Why does the production of melanin on someone else's body affect you? Why does that, you know, because that's what it boils down to, guys. It's melanin production, or it's your ethnic background, everything, your religion, your sexual orientation, everything of which that does nothing for you. They know it's stupid, which is why they try to lie and say I'm not a racist. They try to hide it by saying, oh, but I don't want this, you know, I don't want that, I don't want my kids doing. When they know, when you peel back those layers, all it has to do is with things that doesn't matter to them. It doesn't affect them. But that's hate. That's hate. You ain't gonna change no racist mind. So don't think you are. No matter how much you fact check them, they know you're right. You think they don't know? They know you're right. But they're so brainwashed and full of hatred that they're not willing to see the forest for the trees. And I can say the same thing with women who may say there is no such thing as pretty privilege. Of course there is. Just look outside your window. Have a few human interactions with a group of people and see how one person treats each individual person. Let's just say you go to one person, you have an interaction with them, and then watch and see how they interact with, let's just say, 10 other people, and see if it's the same, given the same circumstances. And you tell me that pretty privilege doesn't exist. And pretty privilege isn't just on the side of the man, like the man giving that off, trying to dictate whether you're pretty or not. No, women do it too. Do you know how many chicks I've seen in my time that will only hang out with chicks that look as pretty as them, if not prettier in their eyes? And you'll never see them hanging out with anybody who didn't wear a certain brand, anybody who was above a certain weight, anybody who didn't fit the brown paper bag test. I mean, it's so obvious. So the same thing goes for women too. You got some chicks out here that operate under that same illness, because that's what it is. It's a mental illness. And yes, I'm diagnosing, because if you want to walk like a duck and quack like a duck, I'm going to call you a duck. So that's just the thing, guys. It sucks that these sort of things exist, especially because we're just in a tiny part of the world called the USA. Now, we do know that a lot of this pretty privilege and conventional looks does stem from Europeans, right? That's where we all get it from. But the world is much bigger than Europe and the USA. There's many more places that have many different standards of beauty. So what may pass as beauty here may not fly somewhere else. That's the reality of it. But anyways, guys, as this video comes to a close, it is 2:36. I need to get ready for school. School is usually at 6 p.m. but we have some new project or something going on, so we got to get there at 4 p.m. so I need a skedaddle. But anyways, if you made it to the end of this video, you are the real MVP. And sound off in the comment section below. Do you believe that there is a such thing as pretty privilege? Do you not believe it? How do you feel about it? Have you been on the receiving end of pretty privilege gone wrong, I guess? Or have you benefit from it at one point in time or not, like myself? Let me know. And yeah, till the next video. Peace.